Hello everyone, Avery here, and welcome to the behind the scenes segment of Frozen Jr. In this segment, we are going to hear from Ms. Fataco, Mr. Sanchez, and Mrs. Wilhelm about their contributions and thoughts on this year's performance. Tech crew heads Ava, Maddie, Avery, and Hira are going to teach you about their roles in Frozen Jr. I myself am going to give you an in-depth view on how the visual effects were created and the secrets behind the editing process. And we are going to take a look at some extra clips that give a peek behind the magic. But first, let's visit Miss Fataco and learn about her role in this year's performance.
Hi, Tamanin. My name is Miss Fataco, and I'm here just to talk for a few seconds about my job as tech director on the set of Frozen. So usually, my kids are also here, my tech kids, sitting in front of the soundboard and the light board, and one of my jobs is just I oversee to make sure the lights are working properly. If they need any help, I can just assist them, perhaps answer some questions. But honestly, I have the best kids this year. They rarely have any questions for me. I always know where they are at all times. They're pretty much always sitting in front of their boards, so I'm quite not sure where they are now, but that's okay. They're probably out doing research for the show, because that's what I could always count on them to do. Or perhaps they're doing their homework ahead of time to make sure then that they're here and focused at rehearsal. So I'm not worried about them. I'm really not. I'm sure that they are just doing their homework or some research for Frozen. I'm really not worried at all.
Hi, Mrs. Taco.
Hi. Oh, see what I mean? I told you they were here during research. Hi, kids. What's up? Do you need any help with anything?
Do you have candy for us?
Yeah, we could really use some candy right now.
You too, Evans?
Yeah.
Some candy? Okay. Oh, I do have candy. Let's see. I have some gummies. I have some Sour Patch Kids. What are you guys thinking?
Sour Patch Kids.
I'd love the Sour
Thank
Patch
you.
Kids.
Okay. Some
I'm
gummies.
Yeah.
How about if I give you 2 gummies?
I'm just too cool like that.
Okay.
Thank
And then
you.
tomorrow, because I just ran out of Sour Patch Kids, tomorrow I will have some Swedish fish for you. What would you like tomorrow?
Do you have any Starburst maybe?
I will get them. Yep, tomorrow, and
Skittles.
Skittles. Okay. Guys, I'm on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Taco.
you,
You're
Mr.
the
Taco.
best.
Back to that research and your homework. Yes, look at them. Look at them. Hardly working. I mean, so hard at work.
Hi, this is the light board. It controls over 70 lights in the auditorium. Over the summer, we actually got a new system, which means I had to completely relearn most of the stuff that I learned last year, which is so fun. This is the board. Some cool things it can do is it can control colors, brightness, and zoom of some of the lights. This helps me go through channels, which are the individual lights, and then subs, which is when we assign groups of lights to a certain sub, so it's like more efficient instead of turning on a bunch of different lights all like at once. Let's go up to the catwalk because it's so fun up there. This is the catwalk where most of the light fixtures are found. To move a light, we can either move it completely or just move it up and down or to the side. Most of the lights up here are labeled. So there's I think there's 17 or 18 lights up here. These are the spotlights. There's 2 of them. To turn them on, you turn on the fan and then the light. There's different colors. There's yellow. That's not a color. Blue and green, and I think there's red too. We can control them with the shutter. Hi, this is the soundboard. I'm in charge of sound and adjusting all the volume for each individual wireless mic. During the shows, we use from 4 to 24 mics. You can see them all right here. I have to give those out to people, and they're really good, so that's good. Throughout the year and our time at Play, we've actually had 2 soundboards that I've had to learn. This is our new one. The other one was about half the size, and that was much easier to learn. But we got this one about a week before our final show, so it's actually not that hard to use. It may look complicated, but it's not once you know what you're doing. Okay, I have to adjust the levels of the volumes for each individual mic in the house, but also since we recorded the show this year, we had to also pay attention to the levels that are going to our TriCaster, which is what you eventually hear and what we'll hear on the DVD. And so we have the individual mixes here, and this certain one is the one that goes to the TriCaster. And so while the mics may be different on here, they could be different on the house. So yeah, that was a process to learn and deal with. But yeah, I'm gonna show a demo now with our lights person, Ava. Wow, everyone better be clapping at home because this is no. Okay, ready, Ava? You're on. Hi, Madeline. Okay, Ava's mic is on right now, and I can adjust the volume here with this fader, and then I can also mute her completely, which would be very helpful. Wish she had a mic on this entire time. Yes. No, it's fine. No. But yeah, that's our entire thing with the soundboard, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Hello, my name is Avery, and I run the TriCaster. So the TriCaster is actually really cool. It allows us to record all of our cameras and audio together. So normally on like a movie, they will actually record audio and video separately, and then they'll have to sync it up in post. But as Maddie mentioned, we are sending audio to the TriCaster. So the audio comes in over here, and so does our video inputs. Now we have 4 different cameras, which are currently not hooked up at the moment. We just have 1 camera, but the TriCaster allows us to switch between all 4 cameras. So the program window here is the camera that we are currently recording to. Now, during an actual production, we can actually preview different cameras. So this allows me to see what angles are good or what angles we can use next. And then once we are ready to switch the cameras, all we have to do is just do a fade to the program window. Now, all of our cameras are from the news studio, actually, because with COVID, we aren't doing any live announcements. So these cameras are just your basic camcorder. They're actually connected to the TriCaster through cables that look like, you've probably seen these before on the back of your TV maybe, but they allow the camera to be connected to the TriCaster, and all of the audio and video is synced up, so it makes it a lot easier for us to do in post.
Hi, my name is Hira, and I'm a 9th grader, and I'm one of the video editors for the musical this year. And I edited the virtual choir together. So how I did that is I took the raw videos, the ones that Mr. Sanchez uploaded into a OneDrive folder, and I downloaded, then exported them onto Premiere Pro. I then take the videos and line them up in the way that we want them to, and sync them to the audio. And over here, you can see all the different performers lined up, and basically for each of the numbers, we put in the backgrounds and then the audio and make sure everything's perfect before we then export them. So that's how we got all the backgrounds for this year's musical.
So we decided early on this year that we wanted to, do something that we thought we could accomplish, first of all. We weren't sure what we could accomplish in COVID. So I think we came up with a way, and it turns out it worked okay, that we were able to get a product, and we wanted to make sure we kind of had something, even if we couldn't have the product we really wanted. Is that a way to put it?
Right, because I feel like when we left on March 12th of last year, literally we left a just heartbroken cast of kids from Bye Bye Birdie that literally had their show yanked out from underneath of us. So I think when we talked about this, the most important thing, because again, everything was very unsure when we were planning, was that we had something that they could actually, like participate in and have something to show for it. And again, last year was such a crazy year and a crazy time that it was really important to us, no matter what we did, that even if, X, Y, and Z couldn't happen or didn't happen, because we didn't know what the variables were going to be, and they changed constantly, even as we were doing this, we figured if we could film something, then that would be an avenue to take where, there would be a product. Instead of like, oh, nope, the show is canceled. We would have something to, kind of like, look what we did, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think we kind of had the same thought in mind in terms of we decided to film a little bit at a time. I know some schools are doing filming, but they're filming, in big chunks. I think our thinking, as I recall our conversation, was that, well, let's get something every couple of weeks, let's get some scenes recorded in case we need to change course in some way, shape, or form due
Right.
to COVID. So that kind of informed our decision, I think, to
Right.
do scenes at a time.
And I will say, like, after hearing, I think it was Tohegan, like, that, did their whole show and they, like, live streamed it. Like, I think, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but, like, I was like, oh my God, they actually did a whole show where they, like, put it all together. And, like, I miss that so much, like the excitement of like, something could go wrong and always does go wrong. But that is the beauty of live theater. And this experience was so different because, if something went wrong, either Sanchez or myself was like, wait, we've got to change that. And so, we were able to kind of change things and, kind of make things better, which sounds great, but it also, I think, and you probably agree with me, but you might not, takes away some of the...
We don't always agree.
We very rarely agree. No, that's not true.
Not true.
But it takes away some of the beauty of the liveness, and I don't know if I'm saying that, but like live theater is such a special thing because you never know what's going to happen. And we kind of had a finger on what was going to happen because we could choose from, in some cases, 10 different takes.
We would spend, in some cases, hours over the weekend, her at her house, me at my house, Avery at his house, going back and forth with discussions. Oh, which take are we going to take? Well, can you take some of this take and some of that take? So that's a little behind the scenes secret there. We were able to do that this
Right.
year.
And I mean, like, I think it paid off, but again, it does take some of the character away from the live
I think it's a
aspect of it.
different character. Like,
Yeah.
I agree. See? I agree that, no, it does. Being live is a certain special sort of quality to it, and it's what we're used to, of course. But there were definitely elements of this bit by bit, film here, film there, that were kind of cool. The fact that we could go back and edit. The fact that we could have Avery, our amazing editor, go and add special effects and tweak little things that maybe didn't turn out wonderfully.
Hello everyone, my name is Avery and I was the lead video editor for Frozen Junior. And now I'm going to take you on a tour of the video editing process and I'm going to show you how we did some of the special effects that you saw in the performance. Let's get into it. Okay, so now we are in the editing software. So this year it was much different with COVID. we couldn't have an in-person performance, so we needed to film all of our performances. And with Frozen, we wanted to add an extra bit of magic because it wouldn't be Frozen without some Disney magic. Now, to do this, we have to use some more state-of-the-art software. So instead of using just some basic software like WeVideo, for example, we have to bring out the big guns. So this software is called Adobe Premiere Pro, and it is a really powerful editing software. It is what a lot of professional Broadway movies use, and it allows us to have full control over audio, video. Um, we can add in different effects for audio and video, add in a bunch of transitions, and it's really a powerful tool that help bring that special magic to the show. Okay, so let's go over some of the basics of this. I'm not gonna go too in depth because I don't want to bore you all with it, but I do want to give you a thorough run through. So this over here is our effects control panel. Basically, we can control position, scale, rotation of the clips, and we also have a bunch of volume and audio adjustments here that we can control, and we can also keyframe them to change within a certain time frame. So we'll go over keyframes a bit later. Over here is our program window. So this basically gives us the output of what we're editing here. And then this down here is the timeline. So this is where we work with all of our clips and put everything in. And then over here, this is our effects control window. I'm gonna move myself out of the way here. There's a bunch of text graphics that we can do, a bunch of audio effects, and we have our color adjustments here, which we'll go into in just a few moments. And then there's also some clip organization stuff too, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's go over some of the visual effects, the special effects that you saw in the performance. All right, so the first visual special effects that really show up is in scene three when the trolls come in to heal Anna's head from the ice strike. So we have, as you can see, we have the fog roll in. I should actually probably mute this so we don't hear it because we don't need the audio right now. And you can see all of the fog here, and then these purple clips here are actually the fog tracks. So these are overlays on top of all of the fog was put in afterwards. We did not have any fog machines, so that was a really good advantage about this year's performance, is that we could add all of these special effects without renting any expensive equipment. And the fog is normally white, but with Premiere, we can actually change the color of the fog. So we have this curves panel over here, which basically allows us to adjust the color by moving these curves. So we can move the red, make it, ooh, that's a bit too much, but we can make it pink, drop it down, make it a nice cool blue. You can affect greens, drop it down and make it a nice deep purple. There's all sorts of cool stuff that you can play around with here. Okay, I'm having too much fun with this, but you get the idea. We can change the colors to whatever the application requires. We just have the green and purple switch back and forth. And if we look here, you can see these yellow elements here. These are actually transitions. So as the name implies, cross dissolve. So it basically dissolves from one clip to another. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So if I zoom out, and if I take out one of these transitions, you can see how abrupt that changes. And we kind of want it to slowly fade. So when we add the transition, it easily and nicely fades to that different color, which is really cool. And the next cool effect with Scene 3 is the magic particle effects. Now, these are also added in. There are quite a few in this scene, and they're actually timed with the music too. So when there's like a beat that goes off, you can hear it. If you when you watch it, you'll notice that the sparkles actually go with the music, which is really cool. So basically, these we have a library of visual sparkle effects that we can use. Okay, so here is our particle library. So basically, there are all different sorts of particle effects. There's swirl particle effects. There are some ones that go in like kind of a circle, like around an object. There are ones that kind of go up and down. You saw that in the ending scene. And then there are the ones which we used, which I think were the Magic Sparkles Fast, Magic Sparkles Directional Curl. So all we have to do is just drag that into here, and it's automatically in our sequence. So all we have to do is click play, and now it's in the timeline. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, it has a black background, and we can't see anything underneath it. How are we going to get around this? So basically what we can do is under the opacity section, we can change it to screen mode. So basically this will take all of the dark pixels out of the video and basically take out that black background. So we have just the particle effects. And as you can see, it is in our video. Right there, you can see it. I go back a few frames. So yeah, it is in the video. Now, just like the fog, we can change the color of these particles, which is what we did for this scene. They were originally purple, but we can change them to whatever color we want. So we can make them blue. We can make them like an orange-ish color. We can make them really red. That's a bit too red. Or we could, we actually did make them pink in the scene 14 where Elsa says love will fall, to make a heart around that. So that is how we add in our particle effects to the show. While we are on the topic of fog and screen mode, I do want to mention the middle fog in Let It Go, which is scene 9. So the fog does give a cool look to the dress change, but I'm about to reveal a little secret right here, so don't tell anyone. The fog actually covers up Rachel's hand because the wings don't exactly cover it, so the fog acts as almost a distraction and a cover up for it, but you didn't hear that from me. Alright, so the next visual effect that we will be taking a look at is this split screen here in scene 11 now. This is probably one of my favorite special effects in the whole show. Mainly, I mean, this might be a little biased, but I mean, it was my idea. But anyway, this basically is two separate clips that we filmed separately with a close up of each one, and then we put them together and sync them up, and it turned out really well. And we turned up the opacity of these clips so you can adjust how clear and how transparent they are. And that's what we did here, and it turned out really good. And another cool thing about the play being virtual is that it allows us to sub in audio and video from different clips. And we'll get back to this a little bit later. but I do want to mention it now. So this purple track here is actually connected with either 95 or 96. I don't quite remember, but this audio is actually not filmed with the original scene. It was filmed with one of these close-up shots, so we can easily substitute audio in or substitute video in from different tracks and different scenes we filmed, which is really cool. All right, so the next visual effect we're going to be talking about is snow. So obviously, it wouldn't be Frozen the musical without snow. So obviously, for pretty practical reasons, we couldn't have snow inside. Even if we did have a snow machine, it would be hard to get it covered all over the stage, and also the stage would be fairly slippery with the snow solution. So again, the power of video editing and the advantages of it being virtual this year is allowing us to put in snow. So if you see any of these pink tracks on the timeline, these are actually linked compositions to Adobe After Effects. So as the name implies, Adobe After Effects basically adds effects after you film them. It's basically Photoshop for videos. It is a very powerful tool, and since a Premiere is an Adobe app, they work very well together. So all you have to do to send a clip to After Effects is right-click on it and click Replace with After Effects Composition. So once you hit that, it'll fire up After Effects right away, and it will allow you to put in different effects. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. But so for some reason, my After Effects is kind of wonky at the moment, and whenever I open it up, it just doesn't respond properly, so I'm not quite sure why that does that. But anyway, let's go over to After Effects now, and I'm going to show you what it is like to add snow. Okay, so now we are in After Effects, and you'll see it's very similar to Premiere. It is somewhat timeline based. It's not as easy to cut and manipulate videos. It's really for only dealing with single clips, but you could use it to edit a whole thing together, but that's a completely different story. Anyway, let's get into adding the snow. So the first thing we want to do is add a solid layer, and we want to make sure that this layer is black. And then we're going to go over to our effects over here and type in snowfall, and then drag this over top of our solid here. So now you'll see if, hold on, drag it over again. Now you'll see that we have the snow here, but it still has the black background. Well, similar to what we did with the fog and the particle magic effects, we can change it to screen mode, and that's going to make it transparent so we can put it over our scene. So there are a whole bunch of settings that we can adjust for the snow. We can adjust how many snowflakes there are.
I would be happy.
So we can just keep cranking them up.
But I'm not.
And really make it a blizzard. We can adjust the size of the snowflakes. Make them big flakes, or we can bring them down. Make them a lot smaller to where you almost can't see them. We can adjust the variation in size, so you can see on the screen there are not all of them are the same size, just to add some more realism to it. And we can adjust the speed, make it really snow coming down, or we can make it really slow.
Smart.
And it just
Wait, what kind of snow?
where the snow would just linger
How do you miss
in
it? You
the
never
air.
had it.
So you can really make it anything you want, and it's highly customizable. You can even add wind in here too, which we did in Colder by the Minute. We really wanted to make it a blizzard.
Every time I think about it. Same. I think that every
Yeah,
time
that's
I'm like,
basically how you add snow. Now, snow doesn't always act the same all the time, and it needs to change. So, for example, in Colder by the Minute, it goes from relatively light flurry to a hard blizzard, and I'm going to show you how we did that. So basically, In the effects tab down here, you can see we have our controls, but it's on the timeline. So if we click this stopwatch right here, this will add a keyframe. So basically what keyframes are is they're basically starting and stopping points for the program to follow. So basically we can set these endpoints and we can assign different values to them. So this keyframe here has 63,400 snowflakes. And we can assign this keyframe to, let's say, 28,000 snowflakes. And basically, it will go from 63,000 all the way down to 28,000 or any other values that we do in between these keyframes.
Same. I would be happy.
So
but I'm
basically,
not.
they are animation endpoints, which we can use to adjust clips, rotate clips, and do all sorts of stuff. So they're basically the boundaries of what a clip, of how a clip can move and how it can be transformed. And we can apply these keyframes to size, speed, and color, opacity, all sorts of bunch of stuff. And I'll actually show you in Colder by the Minute what those keyframes look like. Okay, so we are in After Effects now. This is Colder by the Minute sequence here. I'm actually surprised this opened because After Effects was giving me quite the trouble a few weeks ago when I was trying to edit snow last minute. So glad to see that it works now. Anyway, you can see all of the keyframes that are used to change the snow from a flurry to a blizzard. So you can see there's keyframes for flakes, the amount of flakes, the size of them, and the speed. So these are all of those animation endpoints that we use. And you can actually see as the time goes along, you can see over here the numbers increase as it goes along. And they will follow the keyframe until it is over, and then they will hold that position. So as you can see, keyframes are very important with the snow, and adding snow is a really cool feature. And personally, I'm glad that we have this feature and we were able to bring that extra magic to Frozen. All right, so the next visual effect that we are going to take a look at is the Frozen Anna. So when Hans tries to strike Elsa with his sword, but fails, Anna comes in to save her sister, and she freezes. Now, this was a bit tricky to do. At first I didn't really think that this was going to be possible, but in the end, it actually worked out pretty well. So over Michaela, we have you can see the layers here. We have quite a few different clips going on. So the first one we have is the frozen ice picture. So this is just the picture of crackled ice, which we'll take a look at. And then this is the frosted edges border for the video. So basically, we use the same screen mode technique to get rid of the background on that, and we can easily add that in. So let's take a look at this ice trick here. So as you can see, it's just nothing special, just a picture of ice. And so the cool part is that we can actually cut around this picture in the shape of Anna. So basically, we can create a mask around the picture. So if I zoom in here, you can actually see the mask path. So this is basically the boundaries or the border of how far the picture can go. Now, obviously, Michaela is a person. She's not a robot. She can't stand still perfectly. So to combat this, we animate the mask with keyframes to make sure that it covers most of her body pretty well. And you can actually see as I go between these two keyframes, you can really see the mask moving and it moves quite a bit throughout that, which is pretty cool to see. And over here, it's relatively the same. We have the same uh, path, and you can see there's quite a few keyframes here. This part was a bit tedious to do because I did have to go around Michaela, and every time she moved, I had to move it over, create a new keyframe, but in the end, it was fine. This is a technique we call rotoscoping. So basically, we're cutting around something. It wasn't exactly rotoscoping because rotoscoping sometimes requires you to go frame by frame, cutting out stuff, and that can be really challenging. But luckily, this was fairly easy because she was standing still. So I'm happy with how this turned out. I'm impressed with how this turned out, and I think it looks really good and pretty convincing, in my opinion. Alright, so as our visual effects journey is coming to an end, we are going to end off with, I think, one of the funniest visual effects, and that is Olaf's personal flurry. So, during the middle of scene 14, Elsa gives Olaf a personal flurry because he's melting and it's summer again. So the first special effect we have here is the spiral effect. So this is from our library of particle effects. And if I actually show you, let me show you the cool trick that this particle effects uses. Okay, so this is just a editor's note. This is currently editing the behind the scenes, so you're seeing a behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. Anyway, at this time in the video, when I show you the particle effects library, you'll see all of these files here. These are actually all of the scenes that have snow in them. So every time you make a linked composition to After Effects, you have to create a file for it. So you can see all of these snow files here, and there are quite a few, and each scene has either 1 to 5 different snow files. So I just figured I would point that out right now. Trick that this particle effects uses. So actually there is you can actually see the outline of a person here, and it'll actually go behind that silhouette there. So this is really cool because it allows us to put a person inside and look like it's going around, and that's exactly what we did with Olaf here, and it worked really good. Alright, so let's actually take a look at the personal flurry itself. So the personal flurry was made in After Effects, and it has a linked composition right here. So I'm going to open that up, and it's going to fire After Effects right up for us. And as you can see, here is our work area. So if I take a look here, and come into this clip, you can see the tracking marker. So After Effects is good for adding snow, and it's also good for tracking objects. So instead of using keyframes and moving the position of the cloud and the snow bit by bit, we can have After Effects do all the hard work for us. So all we have to do is use this tracking point here, and we can move it around. We can move this tracking point around in anywhere in space, and it will lock on to the point we assign it to, and it will automatically go through all of the positions. So for each frame, it tracks the object and will plot it. So as I scrub through, you can see that tracking point moving with Olaf. Now, it did take a little bit for me to get it down like really good. Sometimes the tracking point will like slip away. I did try to put it on like Olaf's hair up here, but the best part was actually on the carrot nose because there's quite a bit of contrast between the white and the orange pixels, which gives it a really good place to lock onto. Now, once we have our tracking data, we need to assign it to the personal flurry itself. So to do that, we assign the tracking points to this null, which is it's just a number floating around in the video. You don't actually see it, but it's just a value that's there. And basically, this null holds all of the positions. And then down here, we can assign these null positions to the cloud and the snow that falls out of the cloud. So we can parent the null to it, and basically the null gives it all of the position uh, coordinates that has to go for each frame. So it automatically links it for us, which is really cool, and it helps a lot. So that's basically how we track the personal flurry. It's not too much. There is a little bit of snow, as we've gone over before. So yeah, that's how the personal flurry was made, and I think it turned out really cool, and I think it's pretty funny too. Okay, so as our behind the scenes of the editing journey comes to an end, I do want to bring up some things that are not related to special effects, but it's more related to the significance of how filming the play virtually this year helped us in a few different ways. So, as I said earlier, it allows us to substitute audio and video clips together. So, if you look, pretty much all of the audio tracks here on the bottom, the ones that are on different layers from each other, so you can see this one is on a different layer than this one. That means it's actually from a completely different scene. So not all of the audio was from the original scene. We can substitute the audio and the video together. So this is actually my favorite example here. So you can see the TriCaster actually numbers all of the tracks for us, which is really convenient. And you can see this is 73, and then it goes to 72, and then it goes to 74. So by the time from about a minute and a half, it goes through three different takes and three different audio takes too, because down here you can actually see where the audio is cut and replaced. So it switches from different audio here, and it is very difficult to cut it at the exact moment to make sure that it sounds as natural as possible, because we don't want any abrupt cuts or anything that would be too harsh. And most of the time, they're not even noticeable. Like, it could go from like that. It could go from two completely different audio tracks and video tracks without anyone even noticing. And for me, it took a while to do, and I'm very proud of that work. And there are some other ones here. This scene has a big audio substitution, and in the beginning, there's actually virtual chorus backups. So that's another cool thing about doing the play virtually this year, is that we can add in backup lines from kids who are at home to help bring the sound up on stage. And that's another little secret there, which helps us with sound quality. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the tour of the editing process, a tour of visual effects. It's a pretty involved process. This took a long time to do. As you can see, all of this cutting and splicing and blah blah blah. It looks a bit disorganized, but for me, visually, I know about where everything is, and I'm really happy with how this year's play turned out, and I'm excited to see in future years if we will do this same virtual form again. So thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed.
what you're listening to is some kind of raw audio that we put together. This is the track that we played during Scene 9, during the Let It Go scene. So we collected some voices to create a backing track that the singers on stage sing along with. So you can tell Elsa is not singing here. Elsa sang live, and so did the Snow Chorus, who was dancing on stage. However, we realized when we put this show together that usually for a big number like this, we'd have a lot of singers on stage. And unfortunately, this year with COVID, that wasn't going to be possible, so we had to figure out a different way to make sure we had the sound we wanted. So our solution was to do a couple things. Basically, first of all, for some of the big numbers where we knew there's going to be a lot of cool dancing, that Mrs. Wilhelm always does a great job of having all sorts of elaborate dances. When we knew that was going to happen, we knew those students who were dancing wouldn't be able to sing at the best of their ability. So we had an audio chorus, which is made up of about 10 of some of the best singers in the show, who, we'd put in the background of several numbers. Let It Go, they were in Higa, and at least one other as well. So we added their voices in ahead of time, so that the people on stage recording live would sing with them. We also added in virtual choirs in many of our numbers. Anytime you saw singers on the background behind the live action, that was one of our virtual choirs. The purpose of those was so first of all, you could actually see some full faces in the show, since everyone was wearing masks live, and also to give students more opportunities to be involved. So some students were fully virtual, and that was their way to be involved. They were in all the virtual choirs. Some students had more of a hybrid role, where they did some scenes in person, and in other scenes they played a role virtually. So it just allowed us to keep more kids involved this year, in a year where we had some limitations as to how many students we could actually put on the stage at the same time. And at the same time kind of make sure that we could hear our songs clearly and have enough sound coming from the singers. So that's what we did. Let me show you a little bit about how this works. When I set this up, so I'm using Pro Tools, by the way. That's kind of one of the main audio editors you'll see people use in the professional world. First thing I did was put this track in, which is the guide vocal. This is not our singers. That's the guide vocal that MTI, the theater company, puts together when they give this show to people, so that the actors and actresses can listen and learn their parts. So that's what that is, and then I add to that a count off. And this is what's going to help keep our singers, or help me put the singers together once they record their parts for me. So you'll hear my voice here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I count off and do the claps. Well, the students, when they're recording, whether it's video recording or audio recording for this project or any of our projects, would have to do those claps with me as they would listen and prepare to sing. So I have a track here. This is one of our singers. This is actually Abby. You might recognize Abby as our young Anna, but she also is in the audio chorus. Great singer. So when I put her into the mix here, actually I'm going to get rid of our guide vocals now, come to think of it. Mute those. Now we're actually going to hear the real karaoke track along with my count off, and then Abby's going to make a sound. She's going to go ch, ch. Or some students would go clap, clap with my sound. You'll hear that.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
So, hold on. You're not going to hear the karaoke at the moment until I solo the karaoke with it. There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And there's Abby. Abby's a great singer. Good job, Abby. Okay, and so what you don't see here is that what I've already done with all these tracks that are down here, there's about 22, I think, tracks that we used for this song, I believe. With all these tracks that I've already done, I've already lined them up. So I already lined up the claps and the ch-chs of the claps. So Abby's might have been here when I imported it, and I had to manually go in and move all those back. I'll just undo, there we go. And what I've also done with each of the other tracks, which I'll do with Abby's track now, is I've gotten rid of all this excess. You can hear all this, you can see all this kind of extra noise that might be going on there. I'll get rid of that and get rid of those claps once or those ch-chs, once I have everything synced up and lined up there. Same thing over here. So now I have just the singing and not any of the extra sounds that might be happening. Speaking of extra sounds that might have happened, one of the things that you'll get when people record is, they're recording in their houses on their phones. They might be getting the sound of, air conditioners, or I guess heaters probably in the winter, furnaces blowing, or ceiling fans if they forgot to turn that off, or just computer noise, or some sort of hum that just is in where they're recording, or maybe outdoor noise. I can actually get rid of a lot of that with this little plug-in that's called X Noise that just helps kind of do some noise suppression and get rid of some of the sounds here. It listens to a little bit of the track and makes a noise profile, and adjusts the frequency ranges when you tell you how much to reduce those frequencies. Anyway, it makes it sound a lot cleaner. So that I would do individually for each track. Everyone who's singing there, I have to do that for, because they're all in different spots recording. So I do that. I line things up. I get them, take care of the noise, and then I get rid of all the extra sounds here. You can see that throughout the song I've done that. And then basically put everybody together and do a lot of mixing. You'll see here that there's panning. Sometimes I put their voices in the center, off to the side. That just creates extra space and makes it sound like they're really in a room together. And I adjust the volumes, of course, and occasionally I have to adjust parts, take out little certain parts if someone made a mistake on something. Sorry, let me unmute those. So then the final product is pretty close here when I do this. That's everybody who's singing. Their voices are still a little raw, though. One thing that you'll always hear in recorded music, and that is one of the minimal things that I'll do to make this track sound a little better, is put some reverb, which I have currently taken out. But let me put it back in for you here. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. So I don't know if you heard that little reverb, that little echo at the end, little room sound. So the reverb kind of makes it seem like you're in a room together again, and it also kind of smooths things out a little bit. Definitely is a nice step to take for when you have just the raw voices. It makes it sound better. And the last thing I do, there's tons of other steps I could take to make it perfect, but this is meant to be as live performance as it can be, even though this is pre-recorded. So I didn't want to make things too perfect and tweak things too much. But what I did do, I just kind of boosted some of the sound when you hear me do that versus turning that back on. Everything's just a little more forward, a little brighter. That's a little tool I use on the end of tracks, usually just to kind of make sure everything is maximized. That's what that means, up to the highest volume level it possibly can be. So I do that, and then I export it out, and then we put that with our PowerPoint, and that's queued up on stage. And when we start the scene, we start the PowerPoint and the song, and they sing along, and that's that.
It's dangerous. I'll come with you.
No, I need you to take care of Annabelle.
On my own.
I leave for the charge.
Wait, I don't want you getting hurt. What do you know you can trust her?
Because she's my sister.
Can you say DVD extras, ladies and gentlemen? Oh yeah. Or ladies, I'm sorry.
But it's only for today. It's only for today. And it's agony to the end. Tell
said. Hands up like she said. 1, 2, ready, go.
Here we stand in the light of day.
Ooh, I made a good change.
And the Oscar goes to Sanchez! The dancer!
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going. Smiling, yep, just you're happy this whole time. Keep going until I tell you to stop. And when she says I'm smiling, you do a little nod towards where Andrew was.
I can't believe I'm standing here. Did I really make it through? Father, I did it. Now what do I do?
And here,
I can't stop smiling. How strange.
and back.
Does it mean that things are different? Could they really change? I can't be what you expect of me. I can't believe I'm standing here. Did I really make it through? Father, I did it. Now what do I do? I can't stop smiling. How strange.
And back.
Does it mean
Smile, big smile.
could they really change? I can't be what you expect of me.